level from where our main camp was, and it was getting dark, and I had one of those tents that had guy wires and pegs, so there was about 8 of them, keeping the walk-in type of tent, together.
Uh-huh.
And as I walked down, it was dark, and I was just coming around the corner, and all of a sudden I got close to my tent, and I started smelling what these people were describing before, that sewery, smelly odor. And then I had my flashlight looking at the tent, and I looked over the side, and it says, there's a peg in the ground, but all of a sudden there's all the slack on the guy line, I'm thinking, what the heck? So I reached down and pulled the peg out, and it says it wasn't even in the place where I had it before. So I pulled the peg back out to tension the guy line so it'd be where it was supposed to. The peg was moved about 2 feet in closer to the tent. So, and I went up and asked anybody, I said, "Has anybody been down there messing with my tent?" Because we had a group of 15 people. I said, nobody had been down there. My tent was the only thing down there at night. And I know I'd just been down there about 20 minutes earlier. Okay? So I surmised from that was what happened was the young ones like to come around and mess around with stuff. Okay? And probably I was coming down there about the time the young one was messing around by the tent, probably panicked, tripped over the guideline, had the peg pulled out, and was really concerned about that being put back, and rushed and put it in the wrong place and then took off. But because of the fear maybe it was feeling, decided to emanate that odor, from its gland.
Yeah. Oh, I remember the odor, up there in the Canadian Rockies when we had our encounter and I was getting in the car. It was so pungent, I couldn't even breathe. That's how bad it was. That was gagging.
Yeah, they could do it lightly, or they could just smother you to death with it. It depends on the situation.
Yeah, this one, screamed at us enough, so I don't know. And you were brave enough to have a tent and be all by yourself. You got a lot of courage.
There was other people down there. We had 2 or 3. We had about 3 or 4 campers down there, I think. It's been a couple of years. But it's just that different ones of us would come at that point in time. We were all up in the upper part of the camp, up on a hill a little bit. So nobody was down at that moment except me 20 minutes earlier and coming back and then finding out the peg was pulled out,
Well, I don't know.
Which is interesting because I know we were talking about that, but I have to mention this one weird experience. We had a generator on the side of the one of the bigger campers that was up near the camp kitchen. And you know how these portable generators, they have like a handle and it's bolted on, and with 2 bolts, nut and bolt, two bolts, 2 nuts, secured on there. And so we knew that they were connected, but while we were busy around the campfire, a little bit of time went around, and they discovered that the bar was just laying on the ground, the handle, and the nuts, the bolts were laying on the ground on top of the generator.
Wow!
They took it off, and they were messing around doing stuff like that too, just to let you know they were around. They'd actually get in the car at night, and they'll take this little bit of lichen, which is kind of like a mossy stuff from the tree, and it was in one person's tent, and ended up in someone else's car during the middle of the night. I mean, stuff like that was happening and it does happen all the time when we're camping.
Now, how did you ever see any of the juveniles? What do they look like compared to the adults?
I only get a better impression what the juveniles look like just from my pictures, from taking the background pictures and stuff like some of the ones I've been posting on my website. But when it comes to actual live things, they've usually been at night, and they look like just one big black mass, because first of all, I'm dealing with the blackest of night, and they're already emanating this really, really dark color that you can't hardly see anything, in their facial features and everything. But the one that I encountered was, I thought it was the Barb's dog, Gabby, who I had just gotten out of my tent and was contemplating walking clear at the far end of camp just to go to the, nature calls, because we have things set up over there. And I think, I don't feel like walking in the dark in the middle of these woods, and we were in a remote area. And so I figured, and then my tent was set up pretty close to the fire pit. Like, even though the fire wasn't going anymore, I mean, it was already dark. I figured, well, I'll just get up on the side of my tent and go. Nobody's up; they won't see me do anything. So so the minute I do that, and I'm not even done yet, and all of a sudden I hear this thump on the ground, and like galloping, like you hear horses do when they're running on a track. And it's all of a sudden I see this big black. I thought it was Gabby, the dog. Gabby was, incidentally, Gabby did pass away a couple of months ago or so. So that was a very traumatic thing. But Gabby was a pretty big dog, black, very black. And I see this big, what I thought was a dog, Gabby running up, and it's just like running around the fire pit. And I says, man, Gabby doesn't have that much energy. I mean, this thing was really booking around the pit. And then I said, Gabby, and all of a sudden I don't know if I spoofed it or something. It must have known I was there. And all of a sudden I started hearing this like screeching noise. I said, that's not a dog. And I know a bear doesn't sound like that. First of all, a bear can't move, is not going to move that fast as a small one. You know what? And it just ran around a couple of times. It stopped when I said something to it. Then all of a sudden it galloped off, booked off, and that was it. And I said, well, I guess it wasn't Gabby, and it was one of the young ones. It's probably the same ones that one of our campers, Tom Cantrell. He's an author who's written a lot of Bigfoot books too. Happened to be with us, and in his tent they were messing. He had a CPAP machine, and some of the young ones were messing with the 12-volt battery that was set up on the outside, and kept disconnecting it. That's not a good thing when you're on a machine like that.
No, not at all.
I mean, this sort of thing was happening. Now, I had a tape recorder going in my tent while all this was going on with me. And when I listened to that's how I was able to replay the whole thing. I actually posted the whole video, not the video, the audio of this little encounter of this thing jumping down and running around in front of me, this young juvenile. But I was listening to the tape when the young one got done, and I was still outside. I could hear this heavy. Now, that sounds creepy, but yeah. I'm just trying to simulate that. This heavy, deep breathing going on behind me. So while I'm facing the young juvenile, there probably was a big adult right behind me. So I guess it didn't matter if I walked out of my tent 3 o'clock in the morning, went to the side of my tent versus going across camp. They were there for me. They were waiting for me anyway, one way or the other.
No, they were watching you. I do want to interrupt one thing.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to call in, I can't guarantee the phone call will go through because my Skype updated to the newest version, and a lot of times I don't know people call to after I disconnect it, and then I see all these missed calls. It doesn't even ring. So I'm hoping that I might be able to catch somebody. But you can certainly call in and ask questions at 1-253-51. Well, that's my phone number. God, that'd be very embarrassing, wouldn't it? Okay, you want to call 1-253-203-6695. Gee, I almost gave out my home phone number. Again, it's 1-253-203-6695. Call in. You can ask Samantha some questions. And you know what, Samantha? If I started hearing that heavy breathing, again, a lot of people say that Bigfoot are friendly and they give off orbs. I still think it depends on the location, if they've been around people a lot, versus if you go out somewhere like in the Canadian Rockies or someplace far out, where they're not been in contact very much or any contact with humans, because then they might take a look at us totally different. So you're a brave guy.
Well, you know what? I might do this in human terms a little bit. I have less the fear from walking around an urban area or a suburbia area. There's a certain caliber of people that know civility, and versus getting dumped out in the middle of Appalachian Mountains or someplace and people that don't see humans very often. I'd be a little bit more concerned, about that group of people. And you're right. If you're in a remote area and they're not used to seeing people, so those up there, they really don't like the encroachment of people, and maybe they just are going to do whatever it takes. They didn't try to kill you, probably. They were going to give you the best persuasion to keep you away. Well, that is to scare you out of there.
Well, I put it this way. Me and my friend who was a medical doctor, we had the best run of our lives.
Probably.
For physical fitness, that was the best one. I'll tell you that.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's not only that smell thing you're referring to, the glandular excretions. They also have the more unusual abilities to do infrasound, or they're able to vibrate themselves to create that low subaudible for tones, and they can do it at such intensity that it affects you mentally and emotionally, and it puts fear into your heart.
Well, yeah, but there's some local people around here, very famous, who studied and searched Bigfoot for many, many years. And, it's strange. They've been, talking about where they even have heard like strange car noises. And hey, we got a caller. If you don't mind, we're going to add him in and find out.
Sure.
Okay, hopefully this call is going through. Who do we have out there, caller? Caller, are you there?
Yes.
Wow.
Hey, this is James. How you doing, Gary?
Hey, James. How are you doing, my friend?
Pretty good. I'm curious, has he ever gotten any hair or any DNA or anything like that to get tested?
Yeah. Okay, if that question's directed me on that. We've collected hair samples before, and I know one friend's actually has. We actually have poo samples, or the stool samples. Actually, here's the problem: is we already had someone that did do a DNA on the hair. I think it was Dr. Melba Kitchen. Kitchen is her name. And the problem is that when you try to get they'll make it. If it's not categorizable, they'll say, well, there are some mitochondria, is some human to that. Okay, but there's an unknown element they won't identify it, and hence they just don't make a determination because, first of all, no one can make a discrete claim that this particular DNA sequence belongs to a Bigfoot because nobody's ever done that before. So it's just like anything else. If it was alien DNA or something, they'd say it's just unknown. But unfortunately, there's a lot of problems, I think, with the laboratories or whoever's doing the DNA testing. I think there is an effort to suppress any information to kind of, don't want to push that envelope, cause people to believe it. So sometimes it might be, it's probably a bear sample or something, or they'll say it's inconclusive more than anything else. And so that
bad.
doesn't.
Too bad we can't break through and get something,
Well, there's a lot of people involved in in this research with tons and tons of different kinds of evidence and everything, including stick structures, photos, videos. There's a whole gamut of stuff. And